The Daily Telegraph today has run a report about student satisfaction when it comes to online teaching. Online teaching became something of a craze during the COVID period, and a lot of students felt that they'd gone to university and were shortchanged because a lot of the courses were almost entirely online. And a lot of that hasn't really changed. There's a lot of online stuff, particularly as you go through from undergraduate into master's degrees. And the online content is diverse. On the one hand, you've got the compulsory lectures face-to-face, which can be a little dry, accompanied by online notes, which are comprehensive. So why bother going to the lecture? Then you've also got lectures which only take place online and which seem a bit of a breeze, really, for the lecturer, because they can all be prepared in advance. And then you've got the demands of handing in work by particular times, judged by online bureaucracy, that things have to be handed in by midnight on such and such a night, at midnight GMT, and it's very stressful, the human interaction, which is so useful in the process of attending a university and maturing as an individual, developing your thought process, developing a discipline for later life, is hijacked because suddenly these demands for deadlines are reworked in the terminology of a bank, really. And I don't think many people who go to university are expecting to learn how to behave as a bank manager, or indeed as a clerk or a customer. People pay 30,000 odd pounds, they take out these huge loans, and then find actually they could stay at home. And in terms of plagiarism, it's very difficult to tell whether somebody has hired a ghostwriter or whether they're using AI or whether they're actually and actively writing the stuff themselves. I used to pride myself on being able to tell when a student had written something personally and when he or she had engaged somebody else, one of their friends, to write it. But it's increasingly hard to tell because you don't have any interaction with the actual student. So all the information you're getting is coming through the internet and is coming from this abstract concept who you call student A. And I don't know whether that's a good way to measure somebody's work. A lot of the fun of university is about seeing character development. Suddenly, with this new online obsession, we're looking at content. Content is simply the excuse. The real labor of academic development is done in that nebulous environment which is called a university, where people meet and have coffee and tea and beers, and some of the learning process, some of that development is done not in the classroom or the lecture halls, but in the pubs and socially. And it's all of value. If you take out all that extra stuff, if you take out all the uncertainty, what you're left with is a pontificating professor, and who's expecting to be taken seriously. I think that's rather arrogant. And also, if you've got everything online, then you can compare what you said one day with what you said another day, and the contradictions become even more obvious. I love the fact that it's possible to say X today and Y in a completely contrary way tomorrow. I think that's a valuable part of discourse. But it's much harder to reconcile when all of X is fully documented on a handout or a COVID style a computer screen and an online lecture, which may be done out of order. And it makes a nonsense of the university process. You might as well read a book, and you might get on much better reading a book. A book at least has the advantage of being thoroughly thought out from beginning to end and is unlikely to be as contradictory as absurd as one of my lectures. And the convenience of not being on site is great from a university administrative point of view, but from a student point of view, I just don't think it's worth it. And if we're going to start promoting all universities as the University of the Air, which I think is what the Open University was called by Harold Wilson, well, let's be honest about it. Let's be upfront about it, because there is room for that. There's a place for the University of the Air, but not when we pretend that it's the University of what? The LSE or University College London or something. And there's another thing. One way that a number of university courses seem to be able to trap their students into attending lectures is they give information in the lecture which they don't give in the handouts or in the social media, AI, online lectures. And so anybody relying just on the online stuff is not going to have all the information, and therefore is going to get a lower mark than the person who relies on going to the lectures themselves or interaction with the real teacher. I think that's a little bit squalid as well. It's bad enough doing some of these spurious courses without having to double think and what is being marked as accurate and what is not being marked as accurate. It's duplicitous. It's a game, and education shouldn't be a game. It should be an opportunity.